Hi everybody, I'm Sharna Jackson and I'm the editor of Tate Kids. And I'm here to talk about the Alice in Wonderland inspired project called Wondermind that we launched in November 2011. But first a little bit about Tate. Okay, if you don't know us, we are an art institution in the UK. We hold British art and international modern and contemporary art. We have 4 physical galleries, 2 in London, Tate Britain and Tate Modern, 1 in Liverpool, which is in the northwest, and Tate St Ives, which is on the southern coast. So I head up Tate Kids, which is an online destination for 5 to 12s, where they can predominantly play with art, create art, share art, talk about art, engage with art, basically. And we have a dedicated game section on Tate Kids, which is naturally the most popular area of content. Excuse me. There are 16 games, 16 toys and games on that site at the moment, and most of my very, very, very small annual core budget goes on developing these games, and guaranteed at the end of the financial year, I'm first in line with the concept if there's any spare money floating in the department. But I'm here to talk about Wondermind. So let me just tell you what it is. Wondermind has the aim of reaching audiences not normally engaged with biomedical science. So we did this by delivering a highly immersive website for children aged 8 to 12, but also for their parents, carers, and teachers. It introduces them to key neuroscience concepts in child development, inspired by works from our collection, and an exploration of the world as presented by Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland. It has 3 content areas, a set of 4 mini-games, which use Alice in Wonderland themes to introduce our areas of scientific focus, a series of interactive videos that link to the games, but delve deeper into the science with interviews with leading scientists and researchers, and then the website itself, which is a WordPress-powered blog, which allows kids to find out even more about science, see art related to concepts, and share their thoughts and leave comments. So let me show you what it looks like.
Now, to play this game, you used your memory. But did you know you have lots of different kinds of memory?
What is the most complicated thing
known to exist
in the entire universe?
So you might be thinking, well, that's all well and good, but why Tate? Well, it was like a few planets aligned. Tate and I were really keen to work on a multidisciplinary project that would tie art and science together to inform understanding and appreciation of both worlds. The Wellcome Trust, big funders of science outreach projects in the UK, had just put out a funding call called Grey Matters, relating to the brain. we were having an Alice in Wonderland show at Tate Liverpool, and we'd already begun to start bouncing some ideas around games that we could do. And personally, I felt like I needed a fresh challenge and wanted to do something quite exciting and ambitious. So it was a huge team effort. The games were designed by Preloaded, the Masters of Games with Purpose, who you've heard speak today. The interactive video content by Martin Percy, and the science content was led by Professor Michelle de Haan. And internally at Tate, we had many teams involved: learning, digital, information services, marketing, press, audiovisual, curatorial, and audiovisual, because we not only had the games online, we also had them in the gallery at Tate Liverpool for the duration of the show. So back to the project itself, I'm a keen advocate of learning by doing, and we were keen that we wanted the kids to play through the science rather than it be explained through text. So the games would be a hook into the rest of the content, and then they would be pulled into the interactive videos and then into the blog content, literally like falling down a rabbit hole. So what game design principles did we employ? The ambition was to create Moorish, compelling gameplay, so simple to play, hard to put down. Familiar game mechanics, a core game mechanic or verb that's simple to understand and fun to use. Clearly defined objective or target to give the players focus. Jeopardy, creating the tension between success and failure, the metronome of the experience. A measure of achievement that makes you want to come back and play it again, the carrot of the experience. And more. There were additional project-specific requirements. We had to be related to Alice in Wonderland, of course, had to be informed by the scientific concepts, and because it was coming from Tate, it had to have a higher aesthetic standard. So the Wondermind 4, let me just go through the 4 games in a bit more detail. Plasticity was the first concept we tackled. So in a nutshell, the small parts of the brain, the neurons, are more connected in kids' brains than they are in adult brains. These connections change depending upon how much they are used. So Pathways was the game we devised for this concept. The aim here is to direct Alice around the ever-changing forest as she chases after the white rabbit. She's given a limited amount of time to catch up with him each time he appears. If she reaches him before the clock runs out, then any used time is added to the next mission, allowing for infinite play. The aim here is to play for as long as possible. So Alice can only move along forest pathways if they are kept clear. Paths can only be kept clear by regular use, or by the use of a eat me cake, which makes her bigger when she stomps down the pathways, clearing them quickly. If a path is not used for a set amount of time, it starts to fade and disappear. So the winning strategy here is to try and vary the paths that you use, rather than taking the direct route every time. This way the paths can be open, it should be able to keep up with the rabbit. So the rabbit appears at random locations throughout the game, so the player has a different experience each time. At the end of the game, we provide a little summary to show the players they were playing through a concept, and in this case, we say the forest had lots of pathways which change depending on which ones you use the most. Did you know that's what your brain does every day? So our second game is spatial cognition. Even young kids learn to make a mental map of their position in the world. It takes longer for a person to learn to imagine the world, what the world would look like from a different viewpoint. So our solution to this was on reflection. The player is presented with a screen depicting a moonlight garden maze. At the bottom of the screen stands Alice holding a bullseye lantern. Deep within the maze we see the eyes and teeth of the Cheshire Cat twinkling clearly in the moonlight. The aim of the game is to help Alice shine a light on the elusive Cheshire Cat, who is hiding deep in the maze. So you do this by angling those mirrors and putting them in strategic places around the maze. Once the mirrors are in position, the player will click on Alice and she will shine her light. If the mirrors are set up correctly, then the light will be reflected around the maze and beam upon the Cheshire Cat. The quicker it's done, the more you'll score. The winning strategy here is to quickly and decisively place the mirrors before the time runs out. So each challenge features a different maze to keep the game fresh. And the science learning that you get at the end of this game is all about moving around spaces, understanding spaces, and how to move around them is a big part of what your brain learns to do as you grow up. So you play through the science, you don't realise you're playing through the science, and then we reinforce it at the end. The third game is memory. Basically, different parts of the brain remember different kinds of information for different amounts of time. So our approach here was a game called Remember Me, which is a matching pairs game. The aim of this one is to help the Queen find her volunteers within the deck. She shouts out the name of the card she's after, and you have to find them. Speed is of the essence here, because she's very impatient. If the clock runs out, your game is over. You can, however, add time by finding additional pairs within the set. So the player can turn over as many cards as they like. There are no lives, no penalty for clicking lots of cards. The player is using their explicit memory here in order to search out the specific cards selected by the Queen, and their implicit or working memory to spot other cards or other pairs in the deck as they search. So the winning strategy for this one is to quickly identify the pairs, of course, because you're against the clock. In terms of replayability, the players can try and beat their scores, and each game session sees a different set of cards being played. And the science bit for this one is to play the game, you've used your memory, but did you know you have more than one? You have at least 2 different kinds of memory, both of which you use every day. So language, this is our final game. Over time, your brain becomes quicker and better at telling apart sounds and words of the language you grew up with. So to put this into a game, we created Talking Tea. And the aim of this one is to help the Mad Hatter deliver a specific type of tea into the cups for his guests at his party. The player does this by adjusting a number of connecting pipes that sit between the Hatter's teapot and the cups. Each tea service has a set time limit in which the tea must be served. The faster the guests receive the tea, the more points the player will score, and the more tea the guests want. So the winning strategy for this one is to quickly and decisively rearrange these pipes. Again, each service is against the clock, so speed and strategic thinking is imperative. So in terms of replayability, each tea service features different tea being served to a different number of guests. There's more than one way to get the tea to the guests, and there's the possibility of serving more than one guest at one time. So there's lots of different ways to keep the game fresh. And at the end of the game, you get the following bit of text. You serve the right tea to the tea party guests by turning off the pipes you didn't need. It's just like your brain focusing on one type of language. Did you know that's what your brain did when you were a baby? So the publishing strategy for Wondermind, these were our 4 games, and we got them into the world not only by putting them on enterwondermind.com, but we also created standalone versions designed specifically to be syndicated across gaming platforms and third-party websites with a view of pushing links back to the full experience. So we also cross-promoted it across the Tate website, homepage, on Tate Kids, on the Tate Liverpool exhibition pages. It went out in relevant digital and printed communication pieces, our e-bulletins to schools and families, and the What's On guide in the galleries. So in terms of reception, it's been live for 7 months and it's gone down really quite well. And we've had some successes, however you define success. It's had around 190,000 plays, 140,000 unique plays, which is pretty good for a museum game of this kind. We've been left some really great comments, especially this one on Congregate. Amazing game. I don't think you understand how much I love Alice in Wonderland, and it takes it to a whole new level. I went to the website as well, and I'm learning a bunch of interesting things about how the brain works. Interesting information with an ingenious hook, 5 out of 5. And I honestly thought that someone from the project team had planted that comment because it summed up exactly how we wanted the project to work and be received. We had some good coverage in gaming press, Develop, Gama Sutra, Jay's Games, which was great for Tate because it was taking our work to new audiences. We've been nominated for a few awards, including the Webbies and some South by Southwest awards. So my last slides, lessons learned. Well, this is not so much lessons, but some things to think about if you're planning on working on a multidisciplinary project with funders in this way. Assemble a team of experts in all the content areas. Don't try and flake your way through the content because you'll be doing a disservice to everybody. Keep your core team to a minimum, but brief everybody in this institution so when the game is going live, you're not just springing it upon them and it's fresh news to them. Show your funders everything as it goes through because you don't want them springing last-minute changes on you when the game's gone live. Be prepared to compromise. Ask yourself whether a game is the best way to answer the question you are asking and convey your information. For Wondermind, it certainly was, but is it for you? And related to that, keep your audience in mind at all times. Is this experience fun? And are the core concepts coming through? And that's it. Thanks for listening. If you have any questions, let me know.